Every empire begins as an idea. Every downfall as a misread of human nature. Because people aren't logical. They're emotional creatures who disguise their impulses as reason. They crave certainty more than truth, comfort more than clarity, and belonging more than freedom. Understand that, and you stop reacting to the world. You start shaping it. Most minds chase tactics. The trained mind studies temperature. The invisible current beneath every decision, every movement, every crowd. That's where real control lives. Not in words, not in status, in the ability to read the emotional weather before it storms. That's what we build here. Wisdom muscle. The discipline to see through charm, to resist panic, to lead belief instead of chasing it. These laws are your mental drills. Each one trains a different weapon. Faith, to bind people beyond reason. Boldness, to bend hesitation into obedience. Presence, to rule the swarm without standing apart from it. This isn't about motivation. It's about manipulation, refined through awareness. It's about watching the human machine with surgical detachment and learning where to press for response. Because the wise don't compete, they compose. They don't fight the current, they redirect it. Law 1. Play on people's need to believe to create a cult-like following. Faith scales faster than logic. Belief organizes power. People don't follow truth, they follow meaning. They don't join because they're convinced. They join because they belong. Offer meaning, and you harvest obedience. But you keep selling facts, charts, and reason. You think persuasion is proof. You think people buy clarity. They don't. They buy conviction. You talk about features, margins, efficiency. They're listening for prophecy. You offer answers. They crave direction. You sell the what. They're desperate for the why. Humans are not built to serve spreadsheets. They're built to serve stories. That's why the rational struggle to lead the emotional. You speak in logic. They listen in faith. Machiavelli saw this centuries before advertising existed. He wrote that founders of nations, prophets, generals, kings, all understood the same secret. Power without myth is fragile. Authority without ritual, temporary. To rule the crowd, you must sanctify yourself. Turn vision into doctrine, policy into prophecy. The wise ruler never sold control as command. He wrapped it in purpose. He appeared chosen. His rule felt inevitable, not imposed, but destined. Because people don't die for orders, they die for meaning. They don't sacrifice for leaders, they sacrifice for belief. And once belief takes root, it self-replicates, it polices itself, it feeds the fire without fuel. You see it everywhere. Even now, in business, Apple doesn't sell phones. It sells rebellion disguised as design, a tribe disguised as tech. That glowing apple isn't fruit, it's faith. Product launches feel like sermons. The faithful queue overnight, not for devices, but belonging. And when they defend the brand online, they do it like priests guarding scripture. That's not marketing, that's worship. In personal branding, the influencer who speaks with conviction, who repeats mantras until they become liturgy, who creates shared rituals, hashtags, mottos, daily affirmations, transcends personality. They become myth. Followers don't just like them, they protect them. They evangelize without being asked to. In politics, every campaign is a crusade dressed as policy. Make X great again. Change we can believe in. Hope, freedom, rebirth. The slogans are vague, but the emotion is precise. They bypass intellect and go straight for the instinct. The oldest human reflex, the hunger to belong to something greater than self. To master this law, stop speaking to the mind. Start speaking to the myth. Give people something sacred, a symbol, a phrase, a cause. Something they can repeat, defend, and wear. Because what's sacred can't be debated. And when people feel part of something sacred, they'll defend it harder than they defend themselves. Announce a mission larger than profit. Even if you run a business, lead like a movement. Talk not about performance, but purpose. Not about quarterly goals, but generational change. The grander the story, the smaller the skepticism. Create initiation and belonging. Let entry feel earned. Let loyalty feel rewarded. Give titles, access, ranks, badges that make identity visible. Because people value what they struggle to join. Keep doctrine flexible, but symbols fixed. Words can evolve. Icons must endure. In confusion, people cling to symbols. And when your message wavers, those symbols become anchors of stability. Use excommunication sparingly, but publicly. When someone betrays the creed, remove them with ceremony. Not to humiliate, but to warn. Every exile strengthens unity. Every sacrifice feeds faith. Look around. CrossFit isn't fitness, it's fellowship. Tesla isn't innovation, it's rebellion against mediocrity. Nike isn't sneakers, it's permission to feel powerful. These are not brands, they are modern religions, complete with rituals, martyrs, slogans, and relics. Because people need belief more than they need information. In a world drowning in data, the one who gives direction becomes divine. But belief is a double-edged crown. When your myth cracks, your followers don't just leave, they revolt. The betrayed faithful are the most dangerous enemies. Their rage is not disappointment, it's apostasy. So tend the faith. Feed it with fresh stories, protect the symbols, update the rituals before they decay, because belief, once bored, mutates into doubt, and doubt spreads faster than devotion. When they believe, you no longer have to manage them. They self-govern, they self-police, they defend your vision while thinking it's their own. That's the highest form of power. Control disguised as conviction. Faith is the most efficient form of command because it hides the leash inside devotion. Offer meaning, shape the myth, guard the symbol, and once belief takes root, you won't need to demand obedience. They'll offer it, willingly. That's not manipulation, that's mastery. Because the one who commands belief doesn't just lead people, he owns their purpose. He rewrites the reason they exist.
Hey guys, we're Wisdom, based in Abu Dhabi. We use AI tools to make these concepts come to life, but it's our amazing team who goes deep, breaking down powerful philosophical ideas and showing how they really apply in everyday life. We hope you enjoyed today's content.
Law 2. Enter action with boldness. Hesitation multiplies risk. Audacity erases it. The timid wait for the perfect moment. The bold create it, because history never remembers the cautious. It remembers the ones who moved first, the ones who turned mistakes into myths. Kick the door, fill the room. Make hesitation your rival, not your routine. But you wait, you study, you analyze every angle until the window closes. You mistake precision for preparation. You tell yourself you're being careful. But care is often just fear disguised as logic. By the time you feel ready, you're already late. And someone less qualified, less trained, and less deserving is standing where you were supposed to be. That's the tragedy of hesitation. You trade opportunity for the illusion of control. Machiavelli warned of this centuries ago. He wrote that fortune favors the bold, that opportunity is like a woman who yields to force, not hesitation. Timid princes, he said, are eaten by events, because the world rewards momentum, not meditation. Decisive action creates its own legitimacy. Once you move, the world rushes to justify your motion. Boldness doesn't wait for permission, it makes permission irrelevant. You see this law everywhere. In startups, the founder who launches the imperfect product first wins the market, while others perfect prototypes. Airbnb began with air mattresses on a floor. Uber started with a handful of black cars and a spreadsheet. They didn't wait for the system to approve them. They forced the system to adapt. In careers, The employee who speaks first sets the frame for everyone else. The one who waits for certainty ends up echoing someone braver. In politics, the candidate who declares first, even without full backing, bends reality to their narrative. The rest spend their campaigns explaining why they were late. In relationships, the person who leads the conversation, who dares to speak the uncomfortable truth, becomes the emotional authority. Boldness rewrites hierarchy. Launch fast, speak first, over-communicate confidence. The world forgives bold errors, but punishes timid accuracy. Caution feels safe, but safety is just slow defeat. Every opportunity expires in silence. To master this law, you must commit beyond comfort. Announce your intent before you feel ready. Burn the boats. Leave no retreat. Cortés didn't conquer Mexico with superior numbers. He conquered with no escape route. When retreat isn't an option, victory becomes obligation. Turn pressure into propulsion. Public commitment breeds private discipline. Over-index on the first strike. When launching a product, a message, or a campaign, move louder and faster than feels reasonable. The first mover defines the field. The second merely plays defense. When you meet resistance, don't retreat. Double, because resistance confirms relevance. Criticism is proof that your boldness hit something soft. Keep pushing until they call it destiny. Momentum itself becomes a fortress. Speed is your armor. While they study your moves, you've already changed the game. In the modern world, every system rewards motion. Algorithms favor consistency. Markets reward the visible. Investors back conviction. Even psychology bows to boldness. The brain believes confidence more than correctness. Boldness is gravity. It pulls attention, money, and loyalty toward you. Timidity repels them all. Look at Elon Musk. He announced rockets before he could build them, cars before he could ship them, cities before anyone believed they'd exist. He made promises so impossible that the world had to watch him try. That's the hidden secret of boldness. When you make a move too big to ignore, even failure becomes fame. Or look at Oprah, a woman who entered a space that wasn't built for her and decided to rebuild the entire room. She didn't wait for a seat at the table. She built her own. That's not courage. That's inevitability with a pulse. Every empire, digital, political, or personal, was born from one reckless moment where someone moved before they had enough proof. Hesitation is invisible failure. It feels responsible, it sounds rational, but it quietly rots potential from within. You don't drown because you jumped too early. You drown because you never learned how to swim. Boldness teaches faster than fear ever will. So move before you're sure. Speak before you're ready. Strike before you've been introduced. Certainty is just procrastination wearing a suit. Perfection is paralysis with good branding. The world rewards those who act, not those who almost did. Kick the door, fill the room, and if your hands shake, let them. Fear means you're awake. Boldness means you're alive. Because boldness is a magnet. Timidity is a vacuum. One attracts everything. The other loses it all. So move first and let the world learn your name while it catches up to your courage. Law 3. Abandon the fortress. Dwell among the swarm. Walls are for the fearful. Presence is for the powerful. You think distance is control. You tell yourself isolation keeps you safe. But that's not control. That's rot, disguised as protection. Hide too long behind walls, and the world stops whispering to you. You miss the murmurs before the storm, the shift in tone during a meeting, the hesitation before a handshake, the tremor in a sentence that reveals betrayal. Those are the signals of power, and isolation kills them first. Fortresses don't protect rulers, they blind them. You think you're defending yourself, but you're really cutting off your oxygen supply of truth. Machiavelli warned of this 5 centuries ago. Princes who locked themselves away didn't die by invasion. They died by ignorance. By the time they saw betrayal, it was already standing beside them. Presence, not retreat, protects you, because the moment you step away from the swarm, you lose the pulse that tells you what's coming. Look at the wreckage of those who mistook walls for wisdom. Nokia ruled the mobile world until it stopped listening. Behind sealed doors, they built phones for a market that had already moved on. While Apple experimented in public, Nokia drafted excuses in silence. By the time they opened the gates, their fortress had become a mausoleum. In business, the entrepreneur who avoids networking noise finds out about alliances on the front page of someone else's success story. Deals don't happen in boardrooms, they happen in corridors, over drinks, between jokes. And absence is never neutral, it's opportunity left on the table. In politics, leaders who hide behind advisors start mistaking applause for loyalty. They confuse flattery for faith, until the crowd outside the palace reminds them of the difference. And in workplaces, employees who brag, "I stay out of office politics," watch their promotions go to the ones who didn't. They think merit speaks for itself. It doesn't. Presence does. And in the digital age, silence isn't mystery. It's invisibility. The isolated move too late, react too slow, and fade too easily. This isn't philosophy, it's survival. Circulate. But conceal. Don't retreat. Rotate. Be visible without being vulnerable. Engage without exposure. Gather truth beneath the mask of charm. Host dinners. Power relaxes after a drink. Ask questions that sound harmless, but harvest answers that change your strategy. Turn small talk into surveillance, politeness into reconnaissance. That's how modern power operates. Practical tactics. Move through rooms where decisions are born, not after the headlines, before the whispers. Listen, vanish. Leave curiosity, not traces. Rotate advisors. Fresh eyes see threats that loyal ones ignore. Reward controlled gossip. Make people feel safe telling you what others hide. Truth travels fastest when it feels like confession. Keep channels open. Assistants, ex-colleagues, vendors. They're your sensors in the fog. The ones who see the tremors before the quake. Be where the whispers gather. Hallways, lunches, side rooms, off-the-record conversations. Power doesn't move on paper. It moves in passing. Avoid the two extremes. Exposure and paranoia. Don't broadcast everything you know. Don't barricade yourself either. The recluse becomes rumor, and rumor kills faster than reality. Keep your circle tight, but your senses wide. Let outsiders work to read you. Let insiders stay informed and loyal. That balance builds quiet authority. Presence is not noise, it's precision. It's showing up with intent, listening like a spy, and leaving before your absence is noticed. If you can't stand noise, you'll never stand complexity, and complexity is where power hides. Train your mind to stay calm in chaos, to observe when others react, to turn crowds into camouflage, because once you master presence, you master information, and information is leverage. Every whisper becomes a weapon, every silence a signal. The leader who turns presence into an art makes enemies act on incomplete data. They guess, they overreach, and in that hesitation, you strike. Self-control builds proximity. Proximity builds advantage. Advantage builds inevitability. When your will is still, your presence becomes magnetic. You absorb everything and reveal nothing. Fortresses fall to cunning. Movement endures. Be where the world speaks. Listen before others sense the shift. Move before they even know there's a game. Because power doesn't live behind stone. It lives in motion, in the hum of the swarm. Be among it. Blend into it. Master it, because the ones who hide get forgotten, and the ones who listen first rule longest.
Thanks for spending time in this. If this sparked a new way of thinking, Hit like and subscribe to keep the ideas flowing. And don't forget, check the description for the links to the resources and the original books we used today. We'll see you in the next one.